Hi. I've had people ask me how to attach wafer paper like this to chocolate covered Oreos like this. And, you can do this to any cookie. And the way that I always did it was just to attach some, like paint the cookie with corn syrup and just attach the wafer paper to it. But somebody asked me if you could attach it just to the chocolate when the cookie was covered and the chocolate was still soft. So I wasn't sure. I went and tried it. I don't know if anyone else has experience with this because honestly, I don't think I've ever covered a cookie in chocolate and then attached wafer paper to it. I don't dip cookies too much. I eat them, I don't do them, but anyway, I did a few of these. And okay, first of all, these are a nightmare. If you don't have a cookie mold, because they make molds that are the shape of little Oreos or other types of chocolate sandwich cookies, and you can fill the molds on the bottom, put the cookie in it, and then fill around the edges. That gives you a perfectly beautiful, smooth cookie. Fantastic. If you don't have those molds, it's a little lumpier. So to get the flat side, what I did was I covered first the sides, then I let them set up a little bit. I did like a crumb coat with the candy coating. This is just candy melts. And then I dipped them again once the candy coating was on there. I put that on with a spatula so I wouldn't get crumbs into the candy coating because I didn't want that all over it. Then I dipped them again, and then I put them down on a cookie sheet on a piece of wax paper, just flat, so that the bottoms would dry flat. Because I wanted to have a flat surface to put the wafer paper on. You don't want it to be bumpy or else it's going to stick up. So put them down flat, let them cool off and set up. And what I did for a couple of them then, I think I just took some more chocolate and spread it on there to see what would happen. And I just plopped the wafer paper down on top of it. And these are 2-inch circles. These little sandwich cookies are like Oreos, Hydrox. Do they even make Hydrox anymore? I don't know. They make all kinds, but they're about 1 3/4 inches across in diameter. So these are 2-inch circles. They're a little large. See, they extend over the side a little bit. So you need to look for 1 3/4 inch paper cutters if you're going to be cutting the wafer paper. And if the chocolate's a little thicker, that'll work. So I think if the molds that you can get are 2 inches, and that'll work. And you could put the wafer paper, well, I don't know. I don't know if I would put the wafer paper on the bottom and then cover it with chocolate because it might leak underneath it, but I would wait and put these on the top. So anyway, I stuck it to the top and they seem to stick fine, except they don't want to stay. They're just kind of sitting on there. They're not really attached. They just fall off. So, and I was like, well, all right, so those aren't really sticking. So I took some corn syrup on this one, painted the top of the cookie and attached it. And once that's set up, it's holding it on really well. It's not coming off. But the thing about it is that the edges started to pull up a little bit. So I went back and put more corn syrup around the edge of the cookie, and you can see in between here that there's like a little ridge of corn syrup. So what I would recommend is to make sure, number one, that the circle of wafer paper is exactly the same size or a little smaller than the cookie diameter, whatever that happens to be, and that when you attach it, put the corn syrup, or you can use piping gel. It pretty much acts the same way. Paint that on the back of the wafer paper and then press it onto the flat side of the cookie and let it dry. Again, put it on a cookie sheet with wax paper on it. Just let it dry like that, because then the cookie will hold the wafer paper flat as it's drying and the edges won't peel up. So this was dried like that overnight and it's attached fine. It's not coming off. And I mean, these were attached okay until I started messing with them. But I think that there's just not enough like adhesive in the chocolate to keep these on without something additional to it. So that's my experiment. First time I've ever had to, attach wafer papers to chocolate covered cookies. And I've always used corn syrup anyway. But if anyone else has any tips, and if you're an experienced cookie coverer / wafer paper cookie decorator, please leave them, because that could be helpful to other people who are trying to do this. But that's what I would do. I would get the cookies all covered, make sure one side is flat, paint the wafer paper with piping gel or corn syrup, attach it to the flat side, and dry them upside down like that on a piece of wax paper against something flat so that it holds the wafer paper in place as it sets. And that seems to work just fine. So that's my tip. If you have other tips, please leave them, because like I said, this is the first time I've done chocolate covered anything other than eating them, which I plan to do after I make this video. So I'm going to say goodbye and go have a snack and leave any questions or tips. If you have them, I'd appreciate it.